There are things in this world that are not simply built. They are conceived, deliberated over, obsessed about, and then, with extraordinary patience, they are brought into being. Sovereign Eternity is one of those things. She does not announce herself. She does not need to. At 185 meters from stem to stern, she simply appears on the horizon, and everything else around her becomes irrelevant. She is not the largest vessel ever imagined. She is something rarer than that. She is the most considered. Every square meter of her, from the grand hall on the main deck to the private observatory at her uppermost point, has been designed with a single, unspoken question in mind. What does it feel like to live without limits? Today, we step aboard Sovereign Eternity. We walk her decks. We move through her rooms. We sit in her galleries and stand on her bow at golden hour, and we try to understand, truly understand, what it means when someone builds something like this. This is a fictional vessel. She does not exist in any harbor. No registration, no flag, no manifest. And yet, everything you are about to see has been thought through with absolute seriousness. Because the most extraordinary things always begin as imagination. Let's begin. Before you board, before you ever step foot on her teak, you see her. The hull of Sovereign Eternity is finished in a deep, obsidian-tinted midnight steel, a color that shifts, depending on the angle of light, from near black to a dark cobalt with undertones of anthracite. It is not a color chosen for drama. It is a color chosen for permanence. This is a vessel that does not try to impress. She simply endures. At 185 meters, she carries herself with a low, wide profile. The designers made a deliberate choice not to stack, not to build upward in the way that so many vessels do. Instead, Sovereign Eternity spreads. She is long and purposeful, her decks staggered in descending terraces that flow toward the water rather than away from it. The bow is a sweeping, raked form. It rises from the waterline at a shallow, extended angle, giving the vessel a quality that naval architects rarely achieve. She looks fast even when she is still. Along her flanks, the hull is broken by a continuous ribbon of fritted glass, floor-to-ceiling panels that run almost the full length of the main deck interior. From outside, these panels are dark, reflective, giving nothing away. From inside, they dissolve the boundary between the ship and the sea entirely. Below the waterline, the hull has been developed using hydrodynamic optimization technology for silence. At cruising speed, Sovereign Eternity moves through the water with almost no discernible vibration aboard. Above the main deck, the superstructure rises in a form that draws from palace architecture. There is a grand mass to the upper structure, a sense of weight and solidity that is rare on the water. The upper decks are framed in elongated arched window openings, a subtle nod to classical European grand interiors executed in a language that is unmistakably contemporary. At the very top, a glass dome, the observatory, crowns the entire vessel. It is the punctuation mark of the design. We will return to it. You board Sovereign Eternity at the main deck entry, a process that, on this vessel, has been treated as ceremony. The first space you enter is the grand entry hall, and it will stop you. The ceiling is 6 meters above you. At the far end of the hall, a staircase. It is not dramatic in the way that grand staircases often. It is a single, straight, wide flight in honed black marble. You are not in a yacht. You are in a palace. And the palace happens to float. Through the hall and to the right, the great salon opens up, the primary living space of Sovereign Eternity, and a room that requires a moment before it can be properly described. It spans 22 meters in length and 14 in width. That is not a living room. That is a residence within a vessel. The floor continues the marble of the entry hall, but transitions at the salon's threshold to hand-knotted silk rugs, custom pieces designed specifically for this room. Their patterns reference Persian and Ottoman traditions filtered through a completely contemporary sensibility. The furniture is all bespoke, produced by a single atelier in Milan, deep architectural sofas in cashmere and buffalo leather. Low occasional tables in book-matched onyx. Reading chairs positioned toward the windows with a deliberate intention that whoever sits in them sees nothing but open water. At the room's center, a fireplace. A real fireplace, on a yacht, at sea. It burns, ethanol precisely controlled, but the flame is real. The ceiling carries the great salon's defining feature, a series of shallow barrel vaults, each illuminated along their inner curve by concealed warm-spectrum LED at a color temperature that precisely replicates candlelight at dusk. There are no visible light sources anywhere in this room. The light simply exists. It emanates. Along the full port side, glass. The water is always present. The owner's deck occupies the entire upper forward section of Sovereign Eternity, and it is, by design, completely inaccessible to everyone else aboard. You reach it by a private elevator behind the main staircase. The bedroom is oriented directly toward the bow. The bed, a custom-built platform in solid walnut, upholstered in double-layered cashmere, sits centered before a wall of frameless glass that curves gently around the forward point of the vessel. At sea, you wake up facing the horizon. The ceiling above the bed is covered in a hand-applied fabric, raw, undyed Belgian linen, stretched over a shallow domed form. 2 dressing rooms flank the sleeping chamber. Behind the sleeping chamber, a private study, paneled in smoked oak and Napa leather in a deep cognac, holds a working desk positioned so that the seated occupant looks aft across the entire length of the vessel. From his vantage point, you see everything, every guest deck, every terrace, the helicopter landing pad below, the sea in all directions beyond, is the view of someone who owns everything they survey. Sovereign Eternity accommodates 24 guests across 12 individual staterooms, no 2 of which are identical. Each stateroom was designed by a different hand, 12 studios, each given a different brief, each asked the same question. What does rest feel like to someone who has everything? The answers vary. One room is almost entirely white, walls, ceiling, floor, linen, with the only relief being a single large-format photographic print of a fog-covered alpine valley. Another is paneled in aged cedar, its ceiling covered in the same plaster used in centuries-old Moroccan riads, hand-carved into geometric patterns that catch light from below. A third is entirely glass-sided, the hull itself becoming the wall, offering an underwater view through reinforced clear panels that allow the occupant to watch the sea passing below the waterline. By night, external illumination turns the surrounding water a deep bioluminescent blue. Every stateroom has a private terrace. Every terrace has a private plunge pool. Every plunge pool is temperature regulated. Every detail has been considered. Between the owner's deck and the guest accommodations, Sovereign Eternity carries something that no other vessel, real or imagined, has positioned here. A private art gallery. The gallery deck runs 50 meters along the interior of the vessel, a long, straight corridor that widens at 3 points into circular exhibition alcoves. There is a library at the gallery's terminus. Floor-to-ceiling shelving in hand-rubbed mahogany. Approximately 3,000 volumes, personally selected. A reading table in the center of the room, long, in pale travertine, surrounded by 8 chairs. No screens visible anywhere in this room. Sovereign Eternity carries 4 principal outdoor deck spaces, each designed for a different relationship with the sea. The main aft terrace at sea level is the social heart of the vessel's outdoor life. It opens directly from the great salon and extends to the transom, a wide, generous space in teak and pale limestone with a dining table for 24 and a suspended infinity pool that appears from a distance to spill directly into the ocean behind the ship. 3 levels above, the Sky Terrace is a different proposition entirely. Smaller, more intimate, completely private. A pair of daybed loungers in weathered teak. A fire pit at the center, recessed flush with the deck. A single table for 2. This is not a gathering space. This is a space for stillness. And then there is the bow terrace. At the forward point of the main deck, extending beyond the hull's primary line, a floating platform projects over the water, glassed on 3 sides, open to the sky above. Standing here at sea, There is nothing in your field of vision but ocean and horizon. The vessel disappears behind you. The world disappears with it. It is in every meaningful sense the best seed on Earth. Sovereign Eternity is propelled by a hybrid electric deep-sea propulsion system. 4 azimuthing thrusters paired with 2 principal diesel-electric power plants and a lithium ferrophosphate battery array of sufficient capacity to power the vessel at reduced speed for 14 hours without combustion. At anchor, she operates in near-complete silence. Internal noise levels across the vessel are engineered below 35 decibels, the ambient sound of a quiet library. The vessel's automation system, proprietary, built bespoke for this hull, controls every function of every space aboard. Lighting, temperature, curtain position, ventilation, seawater intake for the pools, all accessible, if desired, through a single interface. Or not accessed at all. The system learns. It predicts. It adjusts before you notice anything needs adjusting. Navigation systems run redundant across 3 independent platforms. A dynamic positioning system, rare at this scale outside research vessels, allows Sovereign Eternity to hold station without anchoring in water up to 200 meters deep, accurate to within 30 centimeters against wind, current, and wave. She carries 2 custom-built tenders, 12-meter sport cruisers finished in the same midnight steel as the mother vessel, stored in a climate-controlled garage beneath the main waterline, deployed through a side-facing door that opens from the hull like a vault. We come, at last, to the observatory. It sits at the very top of Sovereign Eternity, a glass dome, 9 meters in diameter, rising from the uppermost deck like a jewel set in dark bronze. Its glass is a custom-engineered, electrochromic panel, capable of transitioning from near-opaque to perfectly clear in seconds, at the touch of a button or on a preset schedule. Inside, the observatory contains very little. A circular upholstered platform, a single continuous piece, like the inside of a ring, runs around the perimeter of the dome. Above it, the sky. Around it, the sea. Below it, the entire vessel spread out beneath your feet through the clear floor panels. At night, with the dome cleared and the vessel's exterior lighting dimmed, the observatory becomes something different entirely. The stars above are unobstructed by atmosphere at sea level in open ocean. On a clear night, at the right latitude, the Milky Way is visible from here as a physical presence, not a smear on the horizon, but a structure overhead. The observatory is not a feature. It is a reason. It is the reason, perhaps, that someone would commission a vessel like this in the first place. Not to arrive somewhere, not to be seen, but to sit alone or with someone who matters beneath the stars, far from any land, and remember, for just a moment, the precise scale of things. Sovereign Eternity. 185 meters. 12 guest suites. A gallery with a permanent curator. A bow terrace where the ship disappears. An observatory at the top of the world. She does not exist. And that, in a certain light, is exactly what makes her worth imagining. Because imagination is where everything begins. Every vessel that has ever moved through the water was, at one point, exactly this, a thought, a sketch, a question asked in the dark. What does it feel like to live without limits? This is Luminara Rides, and this has been Sovereign Eternity. If you want to see another futuristic yacht design, click on the video on your screen, and I will see you there.